Let's talk 2026. Let's talk roster construction for the Dodgers. Now, this lineup is going to be absolutely loaded. No matter which way we go about it, we have great options all over the place. I don't think Shohei Ohtani is going to get moved no matter what we saw last year. We saw it 2 years ago. There are consistent cries from people asking for Shohei Ohtani to be moved off of leadoff. I don't agree with it. I understand why he is leading off, and I agree with that strategy. At the end of the day, in the modern game of baseball, you want to let your best player get as many at-bats as possible. Now, the common rebuttal, which I think is very fair, if that is the case, why doesn't the Yankees bat Aaron Judge first? Totally understand. I think that Shohei Ohtani's speed component plays a large part in this. He can steal bases. Aaron Judge is not really going to do that. Also, I do think there is some level of maybe comfort for Aaron Judge in having hitters in front of him so that he's not there by himself hitting a bunch of solo home runs but has a lot of RBI opportunities. I personally think Shohei Ohtani's RBIs are depressed because of where he is in the lineup. But overall, I do agree with the strategy of letting him get more at-bats as we saw in the World Series and just over the last couple of years. Him getting more at-bats has led to great success for our team, so I'm okay with it. I think number two immediately is where we have some questions. Now, based off of what Dave Roberts has said and done in this past season especially, I don't see Mookie Betts moving off that second spot. I think Dave Roberts is very loyal to him. I think he trusts him in that position. I just don't see any of that changing, and I'm predicting a big bounce back season for Mookie. Why? I guess you call it blind faith as well. He had the illness to start the season. I do think there were some mitigating factors that prevented him from having as good of a season as we would have hoped, and I do think that given health, given a full offseason, he will be okay. So I think he's going to be better. Now, back to the discussion on the lineup. Does that mean he's going to move? If he moves off of second, he's going to drop down to 4 because I don't think that Dave Roberts is going to change what he has done, which is put lefties and righties one after the other so that we're a little bit matchup proof when it comes to starting pitchers. Then that means Will Smith will go up to second. And then the next question, do you keep Freddie Freeman at third or do you put Kyle Tucker at fifth? I think, again, this is kind of up in the air of how it's going to go because Freddie Freeman has been one of our most consistent players. He's just a rock in that lineup. I think we all trust Freddie Freeman when he is up there. Kyle Tucker is a fantastic hitter. So again, we are kind of having a discussion around a wealth of just great talent. So obviously all choices are kind of good choices, but it's still interesting to think about how we're going to go about this. And I do think egos at the end of the day do come into play a little bit. I know that our team is full of a lot of selfless guys, but these are some of the best players in the game and the numbers still do matter. I know people think that the Dodgers are full of a bunch of Boy Scouts and don't care about these things, but these guys have pride. They're professional baseball players, and I think they should think about and expect to get their numbers. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that inherently comes against the goals of the team at large. And I think the way that they would go about it still would be productive and cohesive for the team and wouldn't detract anywhere. But let's see, Freddie Freeman stays. Mookie then drops to 4th. Kyle Tucker in the 5th spot. And then I think at the bottom of the order, you can actually mix it up, but I don't see Teoscar Hernandez dropping any lower than 6th. Once again, Dave Roberts is a staunch advocate for Teoscar Hernandez, so I don't see him moving there. So then you have Max Muncy, Andy Pages, Tommy Edman. That is an insane bottom of the order. If Max Muncy can have a full season of health, it's possible that the 6, 7, 8 hitters have more home runs than the 1, 2, 3 hitters, honestly, because Andy Pages, if he can build on what he did last year, he can have a very big 2026 and be the most impactful outfielder for us as far as defense and offense. I think Kyle Tucker will be the most impactful offensively, but Andy Pages could be huge defensively there. And then again, if his offense can just remain consistent to what it was around May of last year, he will be an all-star for sure and just one of the best players on our team with a team full of these guys, these names, which is insane. So a lot of interesting pieces there. I can't speak enough about how much of an upgrade we are going to be going from Michael Conforto to Kyle Tucker. I know many of you have not forgotten the Michael Conforto experience, but it is a world of difference that we are going to experience between Michael Conforto and Kyle Tucker that I don't think, it can be quantified if we just use their WAR numbers and their overall offensive output, but it is going to be extremely different. We won the World Series carrying Michael Conforto through the regular season. Now Kyle Tucker's in there. I don't know how many wins that adds, but it's going to be huge for us, and so I can't wait to see that change. Defensively, I thought Michael Conforto was okay to solid. He wasn't amazing, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he was as bad as maybe some people want to claim. He did make some nice plays. I will always remember the crazy play he made in the outfield for Clayton Kershaw's 3,000 strikeout game. So kudos to Michael Conforto for that. But again, the delta is humongous between Michael Conforto and Kyle Tucker, and I think we're going to see the effects of that. Something I'm really curious about is, even with an all-star lineup like we have, it just feels like at the end of the day, baseball is a tough sport, and so these numbers aren't going to look astronomical. I'm not predicting the best offense in the history of baseball, and that might be a little bit disappointing, but it happens. People go through cold streaks, people get hurt, people just go through a lot of different things, and you saw it with Tanner Scott. We thought he was a surefire closer signing him last offseason. He had a huge slump in 2025. That doesn't mean that we can't have that again now with a different player. So for the Dodgers, it's going to be a battle of attrition in a way where it might get a little bit monotonous for them after having gone back-to-back. Does the grind of the 162 get to them? Because we can't just start the season in the playoffs. We still have to make it. We're still in a challenging division. We are in a challenging conference or league, I should say. So nothing's going to come easy, and every series is going to be one in which the other teams are going to want to win because it is a measuring stick for them on who they are compared to the defending champions, who are the proverbial favorites, the heavy favorites going into 2026. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure, more and more as the spring training start and we start seeing some machinations of the lineup. I'm sure we'll start seeing how Dave Roberts plans on deploying these players. But I would love to know, put in the comments, what is your ideal 1 through 9, assuming these are the starters as we head into 2026. Another piece of news that I saw is that Mookie Betts has confirmed that after this contract ends, he will be retiring. Now, it is still a little bit away, 2032, but he was on the John Cena show, and it says, I'll be 40, my little girl will be 14, my son will be 10, my parents were always there, and I want to do that same thing for my kids. So for Mookie Betts playing baseball, we have about 7 years left, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 7 seasons left before he is retiring. The numbers are amazing. He is a surefire Hall of Famer, and he will be headed to Cooperstown as a Dodger for sure. But Mookie Betts will be retiring after his contract ends, and I think the big question is, will he stay or will he continue to be on the Dodgers until then? I think obviously it depends on his performance. I don't think that this ownership group is one to hold on too long for nostalgia, and you can have some disagreements on that with Miguel Rojas, who up until the point where he was the hero of the World Series, I would definitely say the impact was minimal. He said it himself. He thought he might get cut at some point in the season. We got rid of Chris Taylor. We got rid of Austin Barnes. This is an organization at this point that is not necessarily one that is going to keep people because it's convenient or that it is the easy thing to do. They're going to make the hard decisions. And so it's really up to Mookie Betts to perform up to the level that we need him to. And I would say if we weren't in this very unique window with Shohei Ohtani, maybe it's a world in which we let him retire gracefully and we don't put the pressure on him to be the best performing player. But because those windows overlap, and then as Mookie Betts' windows closes, Shohei's is still going to continue, I do think it is imperative for the Dodgers to continue to build around Shohei in a way in which we are set up to win. Now, that might sound a little bit callous, but that is the world that we live in as current Dodger fans. I think that's something we're going to have to get used to. And I know you fans, some of you, were eager to get rid of Mookie Betts now. In this past season, as he was going through his struggles, I saw a lot of comments on my TikTok, on social media, of Mookie Betts not cutting it for you. And luckily, we stuck by him, obviously, and he ended up having a fantastic season, particularly on the defensive side. So for Mookie Betts, I think this announcement is not surprising. I do think maybe it puts a little bit of pressure on the Dodgers to do right by him if they're thinking about moving him or things like that. I'm sure those discussions will be a little bit more open, but at the end of the day, these guys are very cutthroat when it comes to business, and the Dodgers are their business. They want to maximize their return both financially but on the field as well. And every season is a win now season. And that's going to include making decisions like moving away from younger guys to bring in proven talent. And so I think with Mookie Betts making this known, again, not by surprise, but I'm sure this is something that the Dodgers were aware of, and we're going to continue to build so that it can be a nice farewell, maybe with another 2 or 3 World Series victories. I'm sure Freddie Freeman will follow close behind Mookie Betts whenever his contract ends. Maybe at that point he'll continue to be productive on the offensive end. Maybe he wants to go to a team where he can be a DH. I don't really see Freddie Freeman at the end of his career chasing opportunities just to continue to get paid and play. I think he's very big on his family. I think particularly with what happened with the son and all of that stuff, he understands that the baseball is just a game for him, for sure. It provides a great life for him and his family, but it's just a game and there are bigger things. So I think once his contract with the Dodgers ends as well, I could see him potentially moving into a different phase in his life and his career. So as Dodgers fans, we have to enjoy this little window that we have with Freddie, with Mookie, and Shohei. And then as they move on, we move into the next era. Maybe it is with a Kyle Tucker or a DePaula or a Zaire Hope. So hopefully we'll be able to continue and sustain the success. But for now, we'll worry about that down the line. We'll just continue to win the World Series as we're doing right now. So interesting thoughts, obviously. Big thing is the Dodgers lineup moving into 2026. We'll love to know your thoughts and your opinions. What is the ideal lineup for you? Let me know in the comments. As always, let's go Dodgers.